A looming partial shutdown of the government could disrupt essential services used by millions of Americans over the holidays. President Trump and Congress have until December 20th to strike a deal to keep the government open. In the new paperback edition of The Fifth Risk, bestselling author Michael Lewis reveals the personal toll on federal workers of the record-breaking shutdown that began last year. And Michael Lewis joins us at the table now. Michael, good morning.
Thanks for having me.
So this is a great book the first time around. It's even better now because you've got this afterword, which is the story.
Which goes on and on and on.
It goes on and on.
I like it, though.
It's a major contribution, actually. Sometimes it's like an afterword, it's just a couple pages. This is great. It's the story of Art Allen, who was a major part of search and rescue for the Coast Guard. I think he's really important, and you can talk about why, but in part because we had this idea of the government as being kind of incompetent, bloated, too big, a bureaucracy, ineffective people, and Art Allen is the opposite of all of that.
It's so easy to dismiss until you see what the people are actually doing and why they're doing it.
Not seeking attention.
Not seeking attention. So I found this guy, grabbed him basically out of a hat during the last shutdown because he had been deemed out of a hat of people who'd been deemed inessential. It's like, who's inessential? So what had this guy done? He'd spent 35 years in the Coast Guard, devoted to essentially to one problem, and that was trying to figure out how objects drifted on the sea. Because if you can't figure out how they drift, you can't figure out where they are. And Americans have like this amazing ability to get lost at sea. Like, you know,
there's a lot of people that are
13 people a day.
That's
10 get rescued, 3 die. And before Art Allen started doing what he did, many more died. And he spent, you know, on his own initiative, one guy, the lone oceanographer in the Coast Guard, spent years dropping stuff in the Long Island Sound and figuring out how a sailboat floated versus a man overboard versus a Cuban life raft, and enabled the Coast Guard to predict where the things were. And you see these rescue operations.
And you always think the rescuer, the people that come flying
jump down.
in,
That's
say
right.
Thank you. But it's because of people like Art Allen who can tell you where to go look to find them.
They wouldn't know where to jump into the water.
I thought he was
it's a little model for the government. It's like what you don't see.
I was going to say, in a broader sense, what does this say to you about the government?
It's that there are all these functions that we should be unbelievably proud of, by the way. You are so much better off being an American who's lost on a sailboat than any other nationality because of the work this guy has done. And that it's been degraded. That he's been allowed to walk. First, he's told he's inessential. Like he doesn't even have to be in his job. And then he was never given anybody to train. And it isn't just that, like, we lost the ability to figure out how things drift, because we now know that. We sort of lost something bigger, and it's this idea that of progress. So that people in government can create this new knowledge that's of benefit to us all.
And it's not only the Coast Guard, there are other divisions of the government doing good work as well, which you spotlight. But so this risk is poor management, right? It's the idea that we're not going to staff the government as we should, and all of these benefits are going to go away. Have they been going away so far?
Yes. I mean, I think it's you see it in bits and pieces right now. The degradation of this enterprise it's a little like climate change, right? It's this very slow-moving event. And when the dramatic moments come, it's kind of too late. But when you see things like, I don't know, these Boeing planes that were not properly regulated, when you see the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau being dismantled, which was a direct response to the financial crisis that everybody at the time agreed was necessary.
That's what people should keep in mind about another government shutdown, what it really means.
Well, and what it means actually to the bottom half of the society, especially. I mean, there's so many people who depend on this enterprise. And if you think about it, the best way to think about it for me is it manages this portfolio of risks, and some of them are catastrophic risks. And no private sector enterprise is going to do it. And if you don't value it, it's going to come back to haunt you.
All right. Nobody wants to be labeled inessential.
No one wants to be haunted after the fact either.
Very good point.
All right. Michael Lewis, thank you very much. The paperback edition of The Fifth Risk is on sale right now.